So the first thing I decided to do was take an hour and study the kit. Before the jam started, I thought about making a dungeon crawler. Unless the kit strongly supported that, then I'd go in another direction. Turns out the art kit was pretty diverse. I could probably make a Zelda-like, but probably not a first-person dungeon crawler. Well, not in the way I wanted. The only clear idea I had about what I wanted to make was that it was going to have to be 3D, but I still wasn't sure what I was going to use or how. I figured I'd start with a voxel-esque character, using the character sprite as a texture map. What I don't want is the character to deviate too much from the art style. The first thing I tried was a direct conversion of one of the character tiles. I wasn't happy with the result, so I tried a more stylized approach. I tried a few more ideas, and I wasn't happy with those either, so I decided to move on. I still don't have any game ideas yet, but I feel like finding the right character model is key to figuring it out. My knee-jerk reaction was to have a character drive the game. Giving it some thought made me realize that was going to require more animation than I wanted to put up with. So to counter that, I decided to make the game more puzzle-based and make the character more of a tool for manipulating the puzzle, rather than being the thing that drives the game itself. So at this point, it looks like we're making a puzzle platformer, though not in the traditional sense. Most of the platforming will come by way of the player building structures to match heights or fill gaps so he can cross or make jumps. It's not an original idea, but it's not often used in modern video games anymore. I figured I'd start by seeing if I could move a cube around in the 4 cardinal directions. After creating a block that slides until it hits something, the next step was going to be to create a block that only moved one space at a time. And then after that, a block that the player can pick up and move anywhere he wants. After I got the first 2 types of blocks done, the third block needed a player to work, so I was going to have to make a player controller. With the player controller done, I could finally move around and manipulate all the blocks with the character. At this point, when blocks had to interact with one another in the environment, I started noticing some collision errors and blocks dropping out of sync and getting off center. I was going to have to go back and re-examine the block code. This did not go as smoothly as I expected. At this point, I made hours in and nowhere near anything that I'd like to call complete or even a game. And I'm still cleaning up block code. After some work, I got the boxes to respect the grid, and as a player I can start using the boxes for intended purposes. So here I decided to add some sounds. Adding sound effects made me want to add some supporting visual effects. So I messed with the particle system and made some effects that play when the blocks slam into something or slide across the floor. Particles, sound effects, and screen shake started making everything feel really nice and satisfying. Everything except for the player, who was still pretty flat. I noticed the sprites from other entries had a very bouncy, squishy quality to them that felt really nice. After looking at the sprite sheet again, I noticed that a lot of the characters had a roundness to them, even inside of their 16 by 16 limitation. So I decided I would introduce those qualities into a new character model. The new character model is done and juicy.
I got the jam and make you go to work.
So now we're 13 hours in. I put together a super rough camera system so I could get in there and really get a feel for how the game would play. In testing, I found that selecting boxes was a little awkward and harder than it should be. So I went back to the character controller to create an alternative method for selecting blocks that seemed to work out better. Digging in, I found several more bugs and had to recode block movement entirely. But things are a lot smoother as a result. 17 hours. It's time for me to get some feedback. I'm going to have Snurderpurds take a look at what I got so far. Snurd is my homeboy. We work together on several projects. He's a Twitch streamer, he's done game reviews, and he's got a pretty strong catalog of classic and modern games to pull reference from. So he's the perfect guy to tear your shit apart and then discuss options on how to fix it with. He's also editing this video right now. So on the surface, the game looks alright, but Snurd found hella bugs, and a few other weird things that I might want to turn into features. I'll probably be coding and debugging these blocks till the end of time.